Alright, it's the final Gothtober stream, and we're still trying to finish playing through the letter. This ended up being a very long game. But this is officially the final stream for Gothtober, so if I can't finish this tonight, I will still be playing the game, just have to finish the game. But, you know, there will be no more Gothtober goth cosplays, though. This is it. This is the final official Gothtober stream. So hopefully this final section with Luke is not that long, but you know, who knows? I was kind of hoping that once we get to the to Luke, that it's just like an epilogue instead of like a whole chapter. But it seems like they're going the chapter route, so hopefully it's not that long. Because I don't know how much longer they can extend this game. They just need to wrap it up and complete the story. The odd dreams don't linger, thankfully. Uh-oh. Anna might be dead by the time we get to that part where she's on top of the stairs. Well, with the morning comes another disturbance, both too loud and too sharp for my tastes. And I have very fine taste. When the piercing rings of a doorbell reaches even the bedroom, I'm very much inclined to think the person who built this place lacks any sense of it. Perhaps the only good in this is that the ruckus has chased away the needling guilt from last night's commotion, if only temporarily. Still, it's a bloody, annoying distraction. I can tell already that it is going to be a long day. It hasn't even started. If the racket even lasts another minute, I'm peeling myself off the bed and heading straight for the main door. There will be a murder today if this doesn't let up. How quaint. It seems everything in this blasted universe is intent on getting in my nerves as of late.
Gordon Bennett! Only a Nancy would knock at such an ungodly hour!
In the first place, I shouldn't be the one doing this. This is why I hired a valet, for fuck's sake.
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
I'll be honest, if only for today. With the mansion this quiet at this hour of the morning, it's easy to believe those little ghost stories might be real. But the only horror here is the news Hannah brought forth yesterday and the very idea of me being a father. Neither the deafening silence nor the biting chill spreading across the room, every room in the place. My wife is pregnant. Bloody bollocks. There's no place for fear when another set of problems already burns that fuel. So I wait for another second. When no butler still answers my call, I simply yank the doors open myself, perhaps with more force than needed. So now they're gonna, I hope they don't, but they're going to though. They're going to repeat this whole scene in its entirety. And maybe it should be appropriate there, considering the person on the other side and the hour he dared appear on my doorstep. Even someone with a half a brain knows not to disturb anyone this early. A brief confusion quickly gives way to anger, and before the bloody photographer can even get a word in, I'm hurling venom at him. It's less than he deserves, really. Hannah will disapprove, scold me for treating the man with such disrespect, if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him, after all, treats him like a friend she's known for years. But she's not here, isn't she? What she doesn't know.
You again! It's bloody 6 in the morning! What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't.
This is still my home. My rules also apply to this place as much as Hana's do. As simple as that.
Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep.
It just so happens it's also a person I will never take a liking to. No need for remorse.
Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
He continues shouting even as I slam the door in his face. Some nonsense about the news lately, though I don't understand most of it. However, with the closed doors muffling the better part of it, and with no ears to listen, his tirade doesn't last too long. Eventually, he leaves, and silence once again fills the room as it should. In hindsight, maybe I should also call for psychiatric services. He sounds mental just screaming like that. He certainly sounds mental. A suspicious man like him left roaming the immediate grounds. Nothing good can come of it. But if his presence will indeed bring me a problem, a sign of bad things to come, I'll probably know soon enough. Worst comes to worst, Shraken will take care of it if need be. It's what I'm paying him for. In the meantime, the bigger problem at hand. It's on a whim that I've chosen to cook. Sure, I have a lot of things I could have done instead, but cooking distracts me, and I do find it relaxing on the rare occasion I step up to the task. On the tray, 2 plates of roti, paired with spicy beans, boiled eggs, hash brown, and bacon, topped off with peppers, courgettes, and akis. I can't get back to sleep after my abrupt awakening earlier. Although I did think about drinking to get some 40 winks, I've changed my mind at the reminder that my very pregnant wife is sick in bed. I left my alcohol, no doubt, but there are times when I shouldn't drink. Even I shouldn't drink. As it is, I'm running on nothing but 2 cups of coffee. But before I can even shake Hana awake and present her without prepared, a knock interrupts me. Leaving the tray on the table, I open the door to be greeted by none other than Shraken. The sight of his grumpy face is enough to dampen my good mood, and I can only follow when he gestures towards the hallway. I have questions as to why he would bother me at this hour in the morning. But going by the grim, or rather, grimmer than usual air about him, it must be something serious. The man stands there as relaxed and cool as can be, but his eyes hold an intensity that promises nothing but trouble.
I do hope I wasn't interrupting anything.
Well, I have plans. Sleeping in is one of them, too. But apparently, the world conspires against me. What do you want?
If you wish to sleep so badly, feel free to tuck yourself back in bed. I thought you ought to know that we've had an intruder.
And sue me if that doesn't pique my curiosity. Intruder, thieves, who would dare set foot in my house and try and rob me were rare. Oh, intruders, thieves who would dare set foot in my house to try and rob me were rare. I just wasn't sure where that sentence was going. If they had any form of experience, they'd had an idea not to mess with the rights, no matter how tempting our riches may be. But that did not mean attempted robberies did not happen. What was strange about this one is the fact that Shraken thought it was important to bring to my attention. Oftentimes they deal with pests because I wouldn't care how they take care of it, so...
This needs my attention, why? Are they any danger?
Actually, I think I'll let you be the judge of that. He's down in the parlor. Come on.
I glance at the bedroom door, hoping to goodness that Hana will remain fast asleep before following him downstairs. Through the foyer, and into the parlor where a familiar man sits unconscious, tied up to one of the chairs.
I thought I heard something scurrying around. As it turns out, it's a giant rat. And one that had pretended to be a harmless mouse, too.
It's that black man, the one who called himself a friend of Hana. Come Sunday morning, Luke continued caring for his sick wife, going as far as preparing breakfast for her. However, before he could wake Hannah, his butler calls his attention to a problem in the foyer. I'm not sure if I should be surprised or not. He would be caught trying to. To think he would be caught trying to, no doubt, rob me blind. It's a bit disappointing. I thought I'd be proven wrong in my assumptions. He is a gollywog after all. What's a gollywog? The man had seemed the serene of nervous sort when I met him. He had seemed an honest, good-natured man through his friendliness with my wife. Though his friendliness with my wife irked me to no end.
And he's still alive, isn't he?
Hard to tell with the way his body is too still, breathes too light. But it is there, the subtle rise and fall of its chest. Its presence lets me breathe a sigh of relief. A death caused by one of my men is normal. A death caused by one of my men is normal, to be expected, really. A dead body I can deal with. It'd just be one of the many I've seen. But if one turns up while the missus is at home, I'm not too thrilled with the idea.
I saw no reason to do more than incapacitate him. So yes, the man is still alive. Of course, that can be remedied if you wish.
Dang.
No, this is fine. He wasn't trying to kill us, was he?
He's about ready to just kill him.
If he was wholly unprepared. But I do not think he had such nefarious purposes. He is a big man, but he seems too soft to be a hired killer. A common trespasser or a petty thief, maybe. Certainly nothing more.
If a petty thief dares to try anything against me, people are forgetting their place. It used to be made an example of. The guy slacks off for once, and everyone thinks they can get away with taking advantage. His thieving ways is going to be his one-way ticket behind bars. It's only as my anger washes away that I realize that the sun is starting to rise off into the horizon. I can only feel annoyance at myself for missing another night of sleep.
Call the police then. Let them round him up and bring me some bloody coffee while you're at it.
Thankfully, he leaves me to my own simmering as I take one of the 3 seats. And while waiting for my drink, I find myself staring at this man. I can see why Hannah took an interest in him.
I was talking with Zachary, the photographer for Luxury Living.
Hannah is nice, but that doesn't mean she befriended every John and Jane from the street.
He was a perfect gentleman, Luke. I can't say the same for you, Eleanor Saint.
Look at the man you call a perfect gentleman now, dearest.
Look, Luke. Nothing will happen. You have to relax. It was just a friendly chat.
A friend who takes advantage of someone who has shown them kindness. Truly, such soft hearts could not survive in this world for long. Hannah is only so lucky that I am here for her. Who better to protect her from monsters than the worst of them all? And, as it always does when I'm in such a situation, the power I wield hits me like an unnatural high. There's something else when I can hold a man's life in my hand without resorting to murder. A person is as good as incarcerated the moment I sent them Harvey's wife. And this makes me wonder if I can make luxury living grovel. Beg my forgiveness because of the crime committed against me by one of their staff. Deep in my thoughts, stuck in this power trip and rush that rushes through me, I barely notice we have company until Schrocken puts a cup of coffee in my hands.
Officer Carl and his colleague are here to collect. They'll want your statement.
And as he says, there are 2 officers by the door. Though I can't even bother to spare them the slightest of glance. If you're looking back at the unconscious gollywog.
If they need my statement, I'll give it to their chief. I'm due a visit to a good friend anyway.
Get my coffee and a bit of breakfast, of course. Once I'm done breaking my fast and after a cool shower, I call for Schrocken to drive me to the police station so that I can give my statement. Through it all, Hannah still slumbers, sleeping off whatever illness has taken her. The ride to the precinct is a quiet affair. I'm in no mood for idle chatter with what little sleep I've had. Not everything is smooth sailing, however, as soon as I arrive at the precinct earlier, either. Please don't repeat this whole fucking scene in completion, just summarize it. But as I say, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. I'd be more suspicious if everything had gone on without ruckus. And it would be more boring too. Because who doesn't love a good fight and a bit of drama? And it's nothing quite like beating your opponent down and making them learn who's the boss. If life just slumped over, there would be no point in even trying, but I would be much happier if the troubles life threw at me didn't include ruining my suit. Okay, good. Life in this case is the estate agent Lily, who had the audacity to throw water at me.
You bloody...
It's been a pleasure doing business business with you, sir.
See, this is how they're supposed to be doing the overlap scenes with the other characters. You know, just a summary. Make it fast instead of repeating the whole sequence and then just seeing the sequence through the new person's perspective. This is how you do it. Just quick and easy. Who even does that? That third world country woman. He's very racist though. Who's gotten too far for her britches. That's who. This is a Zyton X5. And the small ensemble car is 40,000 pounds. Really? If I was that rich, I wouldn't be paying 40,000 pounds for that ensemble. I mean, jeez. I could charge her for water damages to the Thai loan and have her begging down on my knees for my forgiveness. That Lily girl, really now. I haven't heard from that company she works for. It's closing. I talked to a manager and have her fired. A graceful exit to the police chief's room was all I could muster in the face of such insult. Excuse me. My mood is further soured by the fact that I can still see the rest of the precinct from here. At the very least, Johans is making himself useful and standing outside the door to make sure that no one enters unannounced. And now here I am, dabbing my handkerchief at my wetsuit to no avail. I'd have to be given to one of the maids to clean as soon as I get home. Oops. This is just horrible. The interlining is going to pucker and pull. Ugh. But at least it's not wine, I suppose.
I'm so sorry about whatever that there, mates. But you know how it is with these officers. All testosterone in ranking.
Testosterone? Ashton? No correlation.
Well, you need to learn how to keep your men in line better, mate.
That's true. He needs to sue them because he would win that case.
But I didn't come here to talk about these hot-headed daft villains. They could be dead from the neck up for all I care.
He has the propensity to forget one detail. I own him. I want to seethe in rage. Remind him who exactly the boss here is. I very well can, thanks to the wonders of soundproofing. But the stressed and nervous expression on his face stops me from giving him a tongue lashing. It would really do me good to be at odds with me. No good to be at odds with me when he does prove to be a useful ally from time to time. So I listen when he speaks, focusing on the smell of coffee and cigarettes that fill the room in order to curb my tongue. For now. But boy, when you let a man like Harvey speak, he speaks a lot.
Look, all I'm asking is that you be a bit patient with them. You do realise a good chunk of them don't work. They aren't with you, so to speak. Bunch of kids who think the police are superheroes, some cock and bull. They don't know how things work around here. Especially that Frey boy. A lot of them are just tired.
And why are you telling me this?
I was going to ask you if you knew anything about it. Perhaps one of yours know. There's been a string of unfortunate incidents as of late. There's been a string of unfortunate incidents as of late. Just recently some bloke named Christian C was acting all nuts.
That was weird. They had to redo that line, I think.
Off his rocker, that man. And we had to hold him, thought he was drunk. Up until he started bashing his brains in. Now he's a vegetable in a hospital bed. Another time, some Mark Julius was reported missing. Some are thinking we've got a serial killer on our hands as of late. That Cooper lady from BRC got done in, and a Father Norman too. You have to understand, mate. In a place as peaceful as Luxburn, this makes people wary. Reported crime rates go a bit higher than usual, and it makes them antsy and temperamental.
Are you implying that I have anything to do with them? Because as much as I hate to say it and admit, I am out of the loop. This is the first I've heard of these incidents.
Really, I'd say I'm insulted, but this is par for the course. Harvey knows who and what I am. We have no deals of sorts, after all. Crime is always expected in a society with laws and with humans who are allowed their free will. Well, why not strike a deal with the devil to make sure that said crime has some order, at least?
Ah, well, that's a shame, I suppose. Figured if we could get any leads, it'd be from you.
I can't stop the scoff that leaves me. Can these police officers really be so incompetent? The chief of the damn force seems to find it amusing, however. Because as far as I can see, whether he believes it or not, he's got it easy in our little deal. He just has to sit back and relax, let me do my thing, and not turn against me while he gets to live a comfy life. But perhaps that's why I haven't killed him off yet. Dang. His predecessor to the position wasn't so agreeable.
You know, someday I'll stop turning in my own men when they piss me off. And what will you do then? You and your men will all be lost without me.
I'll just hope that when the time comes, I'll already be all wrinkly and retired then.
It's a play of his, always is, to act all casual and chuckling at everything like it doesn't faze him. Pretend he's one of those kind, wise old men type, so that people can't bring himself to be angry at him. They can't bring themselves to be angry at him. Without seeing him drunk off his arse, bemoaning his fate, what he's become, though he tries to be as vague as he can, even in his inebriated state. I've seen the malice this man is capable of. Dennis Menace. That's why it confuses me with how he reacts to what I say next.
So what is our little gollywog looking at?
Now there's never a time or place for that kind of racist talk, son.
He cuts me off in a firm tone before I can say anything further. Let's check on that term because I've never heard it before. Okay, Google. What is gollywag?
According to Wikipedia, the gollywog, also spelled gollywog or shortened to golly, is a doll-like character created by cartoonist and author Florence Kate Upton that appeared in children's books in the late 19th century, usually depicted as a type of rag doll.
Oh. I guess that's like a racist term in the UK. There is steel in his eyes, and he near slams his fist on the table when he does. And I can't help but sigh, realizing that he's going through one of his self-righteous streaks, rare as they may be.
You know our little deal ties up my hands when it comes to a lot of things with you. But Ionette Steele is a good kid, and I ask you at least show a bit of respect.
He's a felon. I think I'm entitled to call him what I please. I don't owe him any respect at all.
In my pocket, he may be, but he still chose the path of the policeman himself when he was a young man. And I bet it just boils his blood that he has to deal with the likes of me. But I, in turn, hate this side of him that makes him think he's still some do-gooder, some hero of justice. Because spineless fools were useful. Self-righteous ones forced me to do away with them eventually.
You put plenty of your own white men in jail. I don't see you calling them I don't know, white cracker or whatever lingo they have nowadays. And if not respect, you can at least owe the lads some basic human decency.
Whatever. But if you gotta stick up your ass about it, I'll concede. He's going behind bars either way, or however long that is.
Besides, what does it matter if he's black or white? The color of his skin doesn't change anything about current circumstances. It's a trifle matter to argue about over.
It's 6 months and a fine worth 5,000 for breaking and entering. Unless you'd be willing to go easy on the guy. Let him bump it down to a misdemeanor and juvenile offense. We'll be giving him probation and charge him for the damages.
And that's it.
That's it. That's what a white man gets, and that's what he gets too. Unless you're going to stir up a fuss and make a big deal out of this.
In case you've forgotten, I do what I want, Lee. I don't even see why you protect the man. He's nothing but a petty thief.
And won't that look bad on you? The Luke Wright, giving his panties in a bunch over a petty thief. You said it yourself. He's nothing. Not worth your attention or effort. So why don't you just let me handle it like I'm supposed to?
I do hate to say it, but he's got me there. I hate that all this power comes with a great balancing act. Too lax and people think they could get away with the smallest of things. Be too harsh and people will, well, they'll not want to work with me for long, and that's never a good thing in the long term. And it shows on me poorly if I were to fuss over such an insignificant little maggot.
Now is that all you're here for?
Well, there's another thing I want to ask.
What? Can't I visit a friend? That detective. Feathers. Should I be concerned about him? He seemed keen.
Feathers? Oh, you mean Frey? Nah, he's not really anything to worry about. I got him assigned to your case to make the whole thing believable. The boy's a good detective, one of the best I have on the force. But he won't be able to do shit with all the red tape tying him up. In fact, the higher-ups just took him off your tail.
The case against me? I still have one? Harvey, my dear old friend. Have you been slacking off? Surely I told you to take care of that sort of thing. Surely it shouldn't have taken you this long. Surely it should be quiet by now on your end. They shouldn't be assigning anything to what's supposed to be a cold case.
I doubt you've got anything to really worry about unless you go out there and announce the shit you've done. I don't want to accuse the most powerful man in Luxburn without being 100% sure about things, of course.
The way he goes about it is so nonchalantly.
But it's because of that company problem Suarez been talking about. Can't believe that's still a thing. You think the geek would have figured it out by now? You're supposed to be a computer genius. Don't go blaming me for it. He's the one slacking off if you ask me. Don't you be pointing fingers my way.
And has Suarez mentioned anything new about that?
You'd have to ask him about it. You know, I don't understand half the technical computer mumbo-jumbo the guy goes on about. It's like the guy speaks a whole other language. Which, technically he does, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I suppose you have a point. Very well, if you haven't got anything else useful for me, I might as well head home. Get some bloody peace and quiet.
I could have some tea, maybe with some whiskey and a nap, and I'll be right as rain. At least one of us should get some good R&R, because it's not like Harvey isn't going to get any. Especially now that his darling wife has left him. Oh. How are we making him busy? Okay. Oh, yeah, there's new units, huh? Very cool. I like that, actually. I really do. I'll be making him busy as punishment for his slacking off and for her disrespect to... Really, a pity. I pity the poor old man. Maybe I should send him a gift basket? Perhaps more caffeine and smokes to help him along with his bad habits? Before I can leave the precinct, however, a shoulder bumps into mine. I wait for an apology, and I wait.
Excuse me.
There's a twitch in my eye that I can't hide as I look back at the rude old bastard. Especially not when all he does is look back at me as if this is the first time he's seen me. As if he hadn't just nearly shoved me over with his big lump of a body.
You're excused.
The way he says it, the way he looks at me, it leaves me feeling so cold, and I have this gut feeling telling me I should know him. But he doesn't even let me get a word in when he disappears through the door.
That bloody wanker.
Stepping out of the chaos, I let in a breath of fresh air, or as fresh as it's going to get in the city. Following the incident with Ashton Frey and Isabella Santos, Luke Wright met with the LPD's Chief Inspector Lee to discuss what they would be doing with Zachary Steele. He was also surprised to hear that the investigation on the Luxborn firm case was still going on, which the chief reassured him about. I do hate going to the precinct. It's a fucking zoo filled with animals, people who step in included. But it's not like the city's any better. Humans are just higher form of animals after all. We all delude ourselves into thinking otherwise, and I call up the car to take me away from it all. Though I can't bring myself to step inside the house when I do get home. Hannah still rests, I assume. I hear nothing to say otherwise. Not her voice or her laughter, which will easily fill any space with cheer. Everything is quiet, other than the hum of engines from the car being brought away. A bird's cry sounds off from the gardens, snapping me out of my reverie and making me look in that direction. It's an easy decision to go there. If Hannah is resting, recovering from sickness, I don't want to disturb her with how agitated and annoyed I am underneath the surface. No matter how well hidden I can keep it. Not to mention, I've been neglecting the garden for too long. Might as well stay put out there for the time being. Gray skies loom over in the horizon, though the sun fights for every precious minute it gets to stay. It'll rain again soon, with the wind bringing along the gloomy clouds normal to Luxburn. Until then, it doesn't hurt to be out here for fresh air and sunshine. I walk to the gardens, what little of it there is at the moment anyway, and kneel by the daffodils. They were the first to be brought here and planted on my requests, and if nothing else, they brought in a sense of peace. They were Mother's favorites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin to welcome the light that shines upon me. And for a minute, I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful, blooming, and all too happy to stand in its warmth. Life would be much easier if we were all like flowers, wouldn't it? But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical. I have problems much more practical than figuring out the meaning of life, after all. Too many things have gone on these past few days. All I want to forget about, and I want to forget about them, even just for a moment.
It's almost all saints, isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak the words absent-mindedly. The date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never given a proper burial. But it's a date, as good as any, for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone else out. I can remember how the flames licked at her flesh and how it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and a social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. All that is left of her, proof that she had lived, is her name written in the ledger of Luxborn Cemetery, a lighter, and me. Putting on out the lighter from my jacket, I can't stop myself from flicking it open to stare at the flame, and I run my thumb over her name. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. And it will be wrong of me not to make something of myself when she would have given everything to make sure I can become anything I want to be.
Feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a beautiful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone had seen past her occupation, past her vices, and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet, and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, the woman who gave and gave and gave until to me while expecting nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give back. I learned that from father, who plucked me out of the orphanage for his own selfish gain. I pocket the lighter before I can feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be the most likely victim of arson. Just the thought of it is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save me from being picked. Just enough to make a bouquet of the things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You were always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into, more than I deserved. Especially now.
It's been a while since I've talked to my mother like this. I've been thinking of both my dear parents far too much as of late, when I shouldn't. I have a future to look forward to and the present to take care of. These memories of the past give me nothing but grief. The life of Lucille Mitchell Chandler should be nothing but a footnote in Luke Wright's non-existent autobiography. It's because of Hannah, isn't it? I worry that she is all too much like Mother that it scares me, and the thought that I'm turning into my father is even more so. But even if history is so set to repeat itself, I'm not a child anymore. Content to sit aside, unable to do anything to help, and too inexperienced to think that the worst wouldn't happen. I have money to buy the best medicines and doctors, if need be. She'll get better. She has to. And once we get over this little bump in the road, I can stop worrying. All will be right with the world. Unfortunately, my time alone is cut short enough.
I think those flowers look beautiful, my lord.
My lord.
The parlor, the room where the lady stays for her tea, it could certainly use some.
The voice is not familiar, though I'm not really one to remember such things. Going with her attire, I would say that she's one of the housekeepers. Strange, considering I've sent all of the staff home by Johan's away. And her face, as pretty as it is unfamiliar to me. It would be a lie if I said that it didn't set me on edge. Most would say that I cared little for my employees. That isn't entirely true. However, I'd like to think I know the people who work for me, especially those who would roam my home, even if it's just a face and a name. Besides, I would remember a beauty such as her. So who is this? Is she someone impersonating a household staff to get in? She's doing a bad job at it.
Didn't you get the memo? Are you new? Today is a day off. You aren't supposed to be here.
I expect poor excuses and apologies like the likes of her often give, but she merely smiles.
Oh, no. I've been a servant here since you first came.
And I see no signs of lying nor hear it in her words, yet they can't be true. But I find that I feel like I can relax. She has that sort of smile that makes one's kindness shine through without words or action. It reaches her eyes, filling them with a strange sort of mirth, and if she's just thought of something very funny, as if she's just thought of something very funny. Perhaps had it been any other person, I would have interpreted it as a deceitful grin. But the curl of her lips and the shine of her eyes are too soft to hold any malice. She takes my silence as a sign that she can continue. And it's not like I feel any urgency to stop her. I'm not really in the mood for company, but I'm not averse to it at the moment either. Entertaining a beauty like her, even for a while, wouldn't hurt. It helps that she proves easy to listen to, despite how oddly she speaks.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't have bothered you. Look at me, talking to the master of the house without even asking for permission. What will the others think? If you'll excuse me, I'll just...
I haven't driven you away yet, have I? And it's your day off. I don't see why we can't chat a bit.
Of course. If that is what you wish. As long as it does not get you into trouble with the lady. To even take time for someone as lowly as me. No wonder that everyone under the mansion's employ is so fond of you. Though it should have no longer been a surprise to me. You have always been such a kind
and
loving lord.
loving. I have to stop myself from calling her out on her shite. It's almost as if she's talking about an entirely different man. No matter how big my ego gets, I know for a fact that I'm hardly in the running for Best Boss of the Year award. The only reason that most of my staff stay is because of the decent compensation. I'm not cheap. But if she wants to lay it on thick, I'll allow it. Who wouldn't want a beautiful woman complimenting them?
I'm sure she'll be fine with this. We are just talking after all. Unless you had other things on your mind when you approached me.
The words leave my mouth before I even realize what I've said. I panic a bit. Though I can get away with picking up women out in the city, sometimes even out in the country, I've always taken care not to do so in my home or in my businesses. Not when it will be so easy for Hana to find out about my infidelity through these channels. Though, seriously, I still don't see what the big deal about it is. I just have an itch I need to scratch.
I know it must be amusing to see a girl flustered for a man of your stature. But please don't say such things, my lord. I saw you alone and simply thought you could use some company.
Thankfully, and I do count my lucky stars, it seems the woman takes it as a joke rather than the casual pass it was intended to be.
So how are you liking your work around the mansion? The place is wonderful, but I imagine the upkeep is ungodly with all the rooms and whatnot. I don't even want to think about how many people are on the staff roster.
Work is work, my lord. It is a way of living. A purpose from day to day. It is certainly far better than doing nothing or having no food to eat. The house itself is also beautiful. There's no lack of things to look at. I'm sure you've seen those books in the study. I can't read any of them yet, but if given the chance, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be thinking of those things, especially when the rains. They might bring more work to us soon. It will definitely be much more difficult when it returns. Idling about is the least I should be doing.
I guess you can put it that way if you want to be brutally honest about the whole thing. And the rain shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully. Maybe.
If a little dreary, at least she doesn't beat around the bush. I like the honesty. Many would bemoan their status as a household staff, as a janitor or other mental role, and believe themselves to be for greater things. And I would not begrudge the idea that one can always get better. But one shouldn't be so discontent with what they have either.
The rain is something I simply must get accustomed to, if I am to live here. I've not spent long in this place after all, but I have been told that it has rained in this nation since a mother's time, and their mother's time. There is little we can do about it. I am just glad to have time in the sun, even for a short while.
Isn't that the truth? Really, these sunny days have been welcome, though I can't imagine they'll last for long. Sometimes I just want to pack my things and leave for somewhere like, say, the Bahamas or whatnot. Get some sun and surf.
But certainly, you will return for us, won't you? This is your home, after all.
She is thirsty.
Your people, they won't be pleased if the master of the house leaves.
Of course, I can't very well leave my businesses hanging here, can I? I just wish I could actually trust people enough to go on vacation without taking work with me. I've also got to get back here if I ever want proper meals. A proper pudding is something you'll never find out there.
The woman nods in understanding, and I must say that she makes for a fine listening ear. Though what she says next gives me pause, whether she meant for me to hear it or not.
And good tea. From what the cook has been telling me, I've yet learned how to prepare one. Perhaps once I do, it would endear the lady of the house to me. I never expected her to be so unkind after what she did for me. Though it's only if one catches her in a foul mood. I wish I knew how to avoid her anger.
I highly doubt she means Hana. That woman rarely has a mean bone in her body. And when she actually is nasty towards someone else, it's usually deserving enough, much like with that Rochelle woman. Hell, she even tolerates Harvey for me, even if she did admit that she doesn't quite like the man. She must mean the head housemaid, right? I have to laugh at that. Not that I have room to speak. I don't deal with her myself anymore, though. Even Johannes has a few choice words about the head hag. She's just been under the right employ, and she was also head housemaid for my father. And if anyone's not going to get along with someone, he'll be that crotchety old woman. I don't even remember her name, but the woman had been this strict, upstart bitch who took one look at me, her master's bastard son, and turned her nose up, as if she were better by mere consequence of birth. You should have fired her. That, and she absolutely loathed my very existence. Yeah, why would you keep somebody like that? Perhaps the rumors had been true. She had a miscarriage while bearing one of dearest father's children, and she saw me as an obstacle to her being granted a better standing in life. I remember that much at least. The only reason I haven't sacked her yet is because of her competence. Plenty of competent people out there. Also, because working under my household makes her absolutely miserable, her resignation made impossible by her pride.
Nobody really gets along with that woman. I think everyone just tolerates her because of how old she is. I mean, not to be rude or awful or anything, but she's at the age where she'll be pushing daisies soon enough.
Is she? Really, my lord? I'm sure the lady is much younger than that.
I think the thought of tormenting the young and beautiful gives her reason to live.
It does seem that way. Though I feel sorry for her. One's life should not be wasted away on hatred and anger. It is never good for the heart or the head to always carry ill thoughts. But at the least, you are here for us. We are certainly so lucky to have a lord like you. The lady even more so. The gods smile down on her. Though, if I may be honest, she is to be envied.
Even when I have my suspicion about her, she's just so easy to talk with that I've forgotten. I don't know who she is and if she's actually one of the household staff. That would explain why she would so easily give an obviously wrong answer about my character. Though if she is here for malicious reasons, she would have done more than do small talk with me by now, wouldn't she? That is true. Ugh. I have so many questions. Perhaps curiosity will kill this cat.
It's strange that I've never seen you before. What's your name?
You do not remember?
I don't believe you've mentioned it, or am I missing something?
You still cannot comprehend it. Can you, my lord?
Her answer chips away at the good mood I'm starting to get into. I have every right to be angry at the cryptic response. She threatens insubordination with her very presence alone. But instead of hurling vitriol at the woman, I take a deep breath. I do not want my mood ruined further than it already is. Not right now, when I can let my temper take its course another time.
Whatever your name is, and no matter how long you've been working for us, that does not change the fact that you shouldn't be here. I'll call you a cab to bring you to the city if you want.
Shouldn't I? What if I do not wish to leave? I merely desire to stay by your side and serve. Is that such a deplorable thing?
Her gaze sends chills down my spine. It's too easy to see the devotion, the obsession in her eyes. Not the good sort either, as her scrutiny makes me feel like I'm laid bare. The offness of her presence is all the more palpable with the feeling of bugs crawling on my skin, and the silence that makes it seem as if the world has stopped. Any friendly atmosphere we might have had going for us is completely forgotten. Danger, a small part of it, part in the back of my mind screams. The part that has kept me alive all these years. And in hindsight, I'd be stupid not to take heed of it. I've grown arrogant, complacent, and content to hide behind wealth and power.
Yes, it's a deplorable thing, as you said, because I'd like to be alone now. Thank you very much. Didn't want the day off. You should have reported to your superior. This is utterly unprofessional of you, and I shall be issuing complaints. In fact, if you know it's good for you, you should start looking for another employer.
It's at my threat that the smile on her face turns tight.
I see. It escapes you still. This is unfortunate. How despairing that this misery must go on. But maybe, if you come with me, I can help you. I can...
When she reaches out to me, I recoil with a hiss.
How dare you lay your filthy hands on me without my permission? I am not going anywhere with you. Now step back and walk away before I have you forcibly removed.
Oh God! As if a switch had been flipped, the woman's expression turns horrific, though that may be the understatement of the century. She herself turns horrific. Her presence is suffocating, bearing down on me. I'm rooted on the spot, though no fault of my own, as my fear paralyzes.
You are too much like that vile woman, poisoned by her rotten influence and her filthy words. But that can be remedied now that you're here. Oh, how we have waited to welcome you home. Come, my lord. The house beckons.
Then her fingers grasp the back of my coat. I finally find it in me to break off into a run. I can still feel her eyes on me as I run back to the house. La 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 la. Wanting some alone time and fresh air, Luke excused himself, lingering in the gardens as he remembers the memory of his late mother. Suddenly, a beautiful woman appeared by his side, striking up a conversation with him. It was all pleasant at first until... But I refuse to acknowledge it, let alone look back. All I need is to get away from her and to make sure she stays away. If that means acting like a coward and seeking out company to keep me safe, nobody can tell me to do otherwise. Bravery isn't something to be lauded if it comes along with stupidity. It must have been a sight to see the usually composed and reserved Luke Wright bursting through the doors. Not that I have much of an audience unless there are other staff members who have chosen to disregard my orders for them to leave. Really, I still doubt that the woman is one of the staff. Mustering up the courage, I look back through the windows to see if she followed me. She's gone. But I don't take any chances, putting as much distance as I can between us. It's over here. Stopping to catch my breath, Johan's sudden appearance nearly makes me jump out of my skin.
Don't fucking do that, you son of a bitch! If I had a gun, I would have shot you!
If I had any love left for my mutter, I'd take offense. But what happened to you? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Oh, if only it were such a delusion. But I can still feel her sharp nails digging into my back. The feeling was too real for it to have been a ghost.
There was his housekeeper. I think, I'm not sure. In the gardens. She was acting odd and I thought to remove myself from the scene.
Strange. I made sure the rest of the staff had left and that the house was empty, as you requested. Describes this woman.
She had pale skin, dark eyes, and long dark hair. She wouldn't give me her name.
I half expect a name from him. The man knows the staff better than I do, after all. But instead of an answer, he grows quiet. I'm pretty sure that is not a good thing. I'm even more worried that when the other man looks me over, I have to protest when he pulls back my collar.
What in the bloody hell are you doing?
Checking for marks. Needle marks, to be exact. We don't have anyone like that among the staff, who could have easily been kidnapped.
A cold feeling settles itself over me at the thought. I've long established my power over the more unsavory characters in Luxburn, or I thought I did, and the most harm I thought could come to me would be slander, robbery, or incarceration. Kidnapping? An attempt on my own person? I've forgotten that I'm as human, as mortal, as other men, despite my wealth, as any other man, despite my wealth and status.
Fortunately, you look unharmed. But I advise that you be accompanied by trusted individuals at all times from now on. If not me, an assigned guard. I'll be informing them of this soon, as they return from their day in the city.
Already I can feel the energy leave me at the realization of what could have been.
Alright. Yes, I suppose we should do that. But I think I'd like to call it a day. I should be safe in bed, yes?
I'll stand guard outside for the night. The madam has been inquiring about you, by the way.
A guard. Any other threat, and he alone would be enough to make me feel safe. But what I saw, whatever it is I saw, would one man be enough?
That's all well and good. But there's something else. That housekeeper. She.
Luke, you're home. I was worried about you.
The grin that I can muster is probably lopsided. Forced as I snap my mouth shut to keep myself blabbing about witches and monsters. Because here I am, standing in the hallway, dirt on my pant legs and sweat dotting my forehead. A far cry from my usual pristine condition. I don't want to worry Hannah. A
What
cough.
happened to you? You look like you wrestled in the mud and moss, dear. And those flowers. Were you gardening?
What? Oh, these. I didn't realize I still had them.
I really did not, but there they are, still in my grip, the daffodils I had taken from the garden. Even in the wake of my flight, I had refused to let go of them, whether I was conscious of it or not.
Shall I put them in a vase?
Interesting choice. Well, if you already pluck them, might as well give them to Hannah. Perhaps I did it to save face, or maybe a small part of me really had planned to take them for her. Still not there. Maybe I should make sure that I don't get Hannah there, though, so we can get a tragedy at the end. But like a young man presenting flowers to a Valentine's, I awkwardly thrust the bouquet in Hannah's direction.
They're for you.
These are lovely, thank you. But aren't these?
The surprise is to be expected, and the open-ended question needs little interpretation. I've never given her daffodils before, especially not from ones that I considered mine.
They're for you. Don't make me think that kneeling around in the dirt was a waste of my time.
It's not. It's not. Just... Are you feeling alright? I hope whatever I have isn't contagious.
I'm not sick, Hannah. I just got them for you. I thought they'd make you feel better, brighten up the room. I don't need my intentions questioned. The thank you was enough.
And I didn't mean to insinuate anything. But you're right. Thank you, truly, for these.
She takes them from me then, careful not to crush the stems. There is still uncertainty on her face which endears and annoys me in equal parts. But she does look lovely with them. The very picture of her is something that should be immortalized in paint. It should be for Mother. But it doesn't matter anymore.
Why don't we turn in for the night? You must be exhausted with all that gardening.
What does a dead woman care for flowers? Huh. Really, little sleep was had, and I feel completely drained come morning. Even when Hannah rises from bed, in spite of a mild fever, she invites me down to breakfast. I can't be bothered to drag myself out from the comfort of the sheets. It's not like I need to do something particular. Particularly, I shouldn't be scratching my nose. It's not like I need to do something particularly important today. The rain has started sometime during the night. Doesn't help the mood. Okay, maybe it helps just a little. I love the rain. It is so romantic. It is calming. The strange sunny weather had been nice and all, but for it to return as it should be feels like a good sign of things to come. Perhaps things will settle back down and the crazy drama that has gone on lately will die down. The rhythmic pitter-patter of rain fills the early morning silence with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have to be anywhere in a hurry today. But I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. With how it looks outside, it seems that the weather is making up for all the sunny days it has given us with a good old-fashioned downpour. It does let up within a quarter of an hour. However, a day begin with a cloudburst like this, locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Luxembourg's abysmal weather is back, likely for good. I hope they did a damn good job fixing this place up, because I'd rather not have to deal with leaky roofs. Though Hannah might find humor in it, or perhaps ask me to sing in the rain to wear out my anger. I don't like the idea that the realty did a horrid patch job with the place. Well, Hannah technically paid millions for this place. It better live up to the price the realty company sold it for. Well, she paid like 20% on top of what they asked for. Not that it's something she should be fretting about at the moment, when her health's not at its best. Hannah is going to be brought to the hospital for a checkup today, and if anything, I prefer that she focus on getting better. That fever, no matter how slight it is, Can't be good for unborn children, after all. Perhaps a proper rest is all she needs, but I'd rather not assume things. I'm a businessman, not a doctor. Wonder of wonders, why I ever bother agreeing to babysitting duty at night. At that. But here I am, scheduled as today's babysitter for Suarez's brat, once her father drops her off the mansion steps. Though that is a worry much, much later. Come on. If I wish to, I can ask that nobody bother me while I doze off in a cocoon of comforters. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
What do you want? It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I'm quite qualified in that regard.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered. Truly, not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Loath as I am to admit it, he is right. The whole thing might have rattled me, but there is little point in jumping at every shadow I see from the corner of my eye. I shouldn't lose my head for a threat that might not even come. I should know better by now. But I've never been this worried about a possible threat on my life before. I'll be honest here. If anyone is in danger, it's Hana. I can take care of myself just fine. With security tightened, I'll have at least one guard, if not 5, making sure nobody gets within 10 feet from me without my say-so. Hana, on the other hand, is pregnant and will be away for most of the day. It is a small relief that Johans will be with her.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information, any at all, may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? What of use you guys are? What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Though I'll deny it, I do find myself a bit interested.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
Ever consider she might be putting her paycheck to good use? Probably someone out there getting drunk, having a shag. Ugh, and I envy her for it. As long as she's here for work, what and who she does in her free time is her business.
Hell, maybe she's found another client to sleep with. I'll commend her if that is the case. It's a good way as any to make connections and get business. I would be a hypocrite and a liar if I said I didn't get some of my business that way. Scratches the itch too.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
Okay, interesting as all this is, why bring this to my attention? If we've lost an interior designer, just find someone else to take her place.
If I knew that letting Hana hire her would bring so much trouble, I would have stopped it at just the sex.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this, and to suspect.
It's of little importance that I can easily prove my innocence. It is all a matter of principle. Because even the accusation as misdemeanor should not stain my reputation. Although, maybe it is a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it'll be such a hassle to have police poking about the house looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Well, there goes my plans of grabbing some shut-eye. Rolling over my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course. Ah. Johans, distract her.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I have to press my face against the pillow once more to suppress my groan. You just can't get loyal help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today. I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
Bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, bemoan my very existence. Wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. Don't get me wrong, Kylie is a great kid. Wonderful, better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke is the last thing I want on my agenda right now with this whole Hana business. Fortunately, I'm well versed in how the world works. I've long learned that the show must go on, no matter what hurdles come in my way. So I set to preparing for the day. Running a comb through my hair is just divine and simply makes me feel more human. Bed hair is disgusting, though. It isn't as bad now as it was when I was a child. With how expensive a trip to the barber's was, I often had to grow it out until mother had the time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why? I was even mistaken as a little girl because of it. Certainly doesn't help when I was named Lucille. A freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away the last signs of sleepiness. So he did acknowledge that he has a female name. The feel of crisp and clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker to the start of the day. But something catches my eye. My clothes and personal effects are already set on the dresser for the day. Boxers, trousers, belt, and socks on one side with my shirt, a jacket, and tie on the other. It's always the same things, always. Cufflinks, colognes, and anything else I would like to add stays in the dresser for me to choose from. It's all routine. However, among the silvers, the grays, and the red is a tiny blue box.
Now what is this?
The thing is small and light, fitting in the palm of my hand. Too big to be a ring box, but too large to be a watch box. Looking at it closer, I see that it's one of my handkerchiefs used for wrapping. It's easy enough to untie the knot to reveal a plain box instead. An odd and quaint way to wrap up a gift, I suppose. The presentation should be the last thing I need to be worried about. Mail, packages, gifts, and the likes are supposed to be vetted before they get to me. In the morning, Johannes would hand me a list of things I need to look over and go through. Yet there was no forewarning of this. Immediately I dropped the thing as it burned me.
I shouldn't have touched that. I shouldn't have touched that.
Why didn't want to touch it? Oh. It very well might have. Without security going over it, it could be a nasty gift for me. I can still remember when the security guard died to contact poison that covered an innocent enough birthday card, for fuck's sake. But as the box hits the ground, it spills its contents. What I see makes my stomach turn. An eyeball, still with its nerve endings. Not an eyeball, two eyeballs. Mucus and all, plops to the ground. I have to fight the urge to gag as it rolls and stares up at me.
Oh god. That's sick. That is sick. It's still wet. My blood. Fucking. That is disgusting.
I'm not a stranger to being sent threats, but this has to be the first time I've been sent a body part. Even I don't do that. Those are Zach's eyes. Because his eyes got pulled out. Yet there's no note or sign as to who may have sent it and how it got there. If this is a threat, it's a piss poor way of doing it, considering it lacks proper planning outside the shock factor that sending a body part affords them. Do I even know anyone whose eyes are the same shade? Not Hannah's. No, definitely not. They aren't as pretty and aren't the right color. Johan's? Johan's right outside. Mr. and Mrs. Lee? Suarez? McCulloch? No, the color isn't familiar at all. Though honestly, it's not like I take the time to memorize each and every person's eye. This could be anyone's, from a guard or a maid or one of the other hundred of people I deal with. Kylie can't see this. The kid is tough, but this will traumatize her. Grabbing the handkerchief that was used for wrapping, I tried to pick up the eyeballs to dispose of it. Emphasis on try. Contact, even with fabric, has me gagging. The thought of squishing it and covering my fingers with the slick and slime of it made me recoil. But the slightest touch is enough to make the eyeball roll towards the bed. And in my mad scramble to make a grab for it, it rolls even farther under the bed until it's in the smack dab middle. There it is. There it just haunts me from where it sits out of my reach. Green iris fixed on me again, perhaps judging my poor attempts to get it.
What the hell is this? I don't have time for this.
I wash my hands of this, quite literally at that. Though I wish it isn't easier said than done. The nagging in the back of my head, the voice that tells me I need to be more cautious about this, refuses to push the matter aside. While it is true that it is a cause for concern, without the demands of anything of the like, worrying will do very little to help. Luke Wright received a surprise early Sunday morning in the form of an oddly wrapped gift. Upon opening the box, however, looking around the room, I tried to see if any other presents have been left behind. To my relief, aside from the blue box, nothing else is out of place. The most I can do right now is alert the present security staff about this breach. Watch out for any other threats. If they have a message from me, they'll most likely send it with their next gift. Whoever has sent this I would assume that it is more to shake me up more than anything else at the moment. It will be best to act as if it didn't happen. No need to make a child worry about it or either. But you need to tell Johan so it can be taken care of. She doesn't need to know. Smoothing down my suit and hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. The horrors that come with taking care of a child. Well, I try to forget the horrors that come in a box.
Good morning to you, Luke.
Ugh. Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for it.
Did you just wake up? Oh, tell me you forgot. We're waiting today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are a frequent enough thing that they've found a way into my schedule. They're supposed to be visits to her godmother. But we can't pick who a child gets along with. So long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day. Which is all well and good for me, if it makes Suarez focus on work I've given him. Besides, she's a bright child. Tolerable. Kid's got a good head on her shoulders and can get pretty mature for her age at times. Of course, they have to thank me for that. Her parents can take partial credit, but Hannah and I have been there for this kid since she was just a small babe. Why, I can still remember the first time I saw her. It was during her baptism. The only reason I was there was to accompany Hannah, who was to be named godmother. She was such a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in a mother's arm in white cloth. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close enough to hold one at least. It had been terrifying to be given a little child to carry after the whole water ceremony. I've never done so before that, to hold a tiny life in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head and this little tyke before me would have stopped existing then and there. But the child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me even as I tried to hand her off to Hannah. She had thought it hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess, and I was nearly an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. Yet it was pleasant too, to think I might be doing it again soon, with Hannah's children, with our children, kids of my own flesh and blood. In a few months' time, I'll be cradling them in my arms, hearing the ring of their laughters against my ears. It's a tender thing to think about. And despite myself, in spite of all the fears that I will never be good enough for them, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Of course I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as he told me for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortillas de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
Ah, the Suarez's infamous tortilla de patatas. Those things are a hazard. You can probably use one to bludgeon someone into submission with how huge they are. It's a miracle Kylie can still be so energetic. I had trouble staying awake the first time I had one. Speaking of staying awake...
Well, I need some coffee in me at the very least. But if you'd like, you can jump straight to dessert.
Yes! Dessert, please!
It's easy enough to manage Kylie with the promise of sweets, thankfully. The hard part is managing her before she gets the sweets, because I nearly have a heart attack when the kid races down the stairs. Just the thought of her slipping and breaking her neck is enough to make me rush down after her.
Slow down, the food isn't going anywhere.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Jesus fucking
Jesus.
Christ. Children.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Silly. With a shake of my head, I usher Kylie towards the parlor and order a maid to bring food for us. Whatever breakfast Whatever breakfast there is, along with a cup of coffee for me and an ice cream for Kylie. But I can't leave the kid alone for too long unless I want her to turn the other room into a slaughter ground. True to my expectations, I've only left Kylie alone for a few minutes, but she's already made herself comfortable. The stuff from her backpack has been left scattered across the room, from coloring books and crayons to toys. She's well equipped to amuse herself in no trouble, though I can certainly breathe a little easier if she won't bring her doll along every time she visits. Narcissa or Cisa is a creepy little bugger. It doesn't help when Kylie left her during one. Finding the thing at the bottom of the stairs, staring up at me at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, is a memory that won't be leaving me anytime soon. Even now, it stares at me from where it's seated. I'm wholly tempted to just throw the thing into the fireplace and banish it from whence it came. I can buy her a prettier doll, a better doll. I will break it, find a way to get rid of it, if it wasn't from Hana, and if only Kylie isn't so attached to it. Yoshi? The thing is some antique doll she found for the brat's 6th birthday. One of a kind. My darling Hana loves her so, and Kylie does try to be a good goddaughter, but she just can't keep her interest long with the wife. It's not something that Hana does wrong on her part. She does try so very, very hard. It's just that she doesn't quite know how to really handle children. She'd never be around other children when she was young. Surrounded by protective adults who catered to her every whim and worried for her safety every minute. Sweetheart? Yoshi? When she isn't able to keep up with Kylie, her first instinct is to be strict. Impose rules on the child, treat her as if she is made of spun glass, like every moment might break her. I, at least, have some idea from being around street kids. I know the games they've played and how they think. I know that scraps and skinned knees are all part of childhood. Even with how I grew up, I had time to be a child and not some sheltered heiress. With Kylie, as behaved as she can be with her toys and her books and arts, she has to use up all her energy somehow. To run around the playground and make a mess in the mud, or even just fake wrestle for a short while. Let her be a child when she wants, I'll say. If it becomes too much, just bribe her with sweets or ship her back to her papa. Problem solved. Unfortunately, Hana isn't quite up to those sort of things most of the time, thinking it will spoil the child. It turns a whole playdate awkward every time. Taking the last seat left, I pluck one of her coloring books from the table to see it filled with dinosaurs. Not exactly what I expect to see for a little girl. It doesn't hurt anyone. If she wants to play with dolls and cars, or dolls with their cars, what do I care? She once put dolls' tutus on model cars even.
Oh, this is a new one. The last one you had was filled with horses, wasn't it?
Those were ponies, Tio. They're much cuter than horses. But we went to a dinosaur zoo, and it was awesome. Siri, dinosaurs are my favorite. Siri, you know.
I have no idea what that is, but it must be something. I'm only familiar with the T-Rex myself.
Yeah, they found, fossils of its claws. They're really long. They think the whole theory might be a bazillion meters tall, even bigger than a T-Rex. Cisa says it'll be big enough to eat all my classmates.
Her eyes are so evil right now. She only laughs as I scrunch up my nose and grimace.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
I have to stop and look around, expecting one of the help to be there. The child does have a way of befriending just about anyone, as long as she puts her mind to it. Yet the two of us are completely alone. Thankfully, she only finds my disturbed look as another funny, grown-up expression. That might be a lot more problematic than when she plays with dolls or cars, though. Both the thoughts of Cisa giving Kylie ideas, and one of said ideas being massacred by a dinosaur. Something I probably need to bring up with her father, aside from work. But beyond murderous dinosaurs, creepy dolls, and imaginary friends, I find no trouble with Kylie. She's as energetic and precocious as any tyke her age can be. She's an angel if she can get comfy and settled in after getting her sweets. We tuck into our waffles as soon as food is brought in. Our waffles, because she wanted her own plate to go with the ice cream as soon as she saw mine. A fresh plate of berries is brought in as well, which really goes great with the rest of this feast, as Kylie puts it. And if I indulge in the sweetness, I have a cup of black coffee to pair it off with. With our bellies full, Kylie grows content with just scribbling on a scrap of paper and calmly chatting about her week. She talks of her older brother Rowan and their parents, how they plan to go to the Bloxland in Berkshire for the winter holidays. She talks of Miss Pink, and I have to shift my legs to become comfortable once more, the memory of my initial meeting with her still fresh on my mind. She talks of the sad man in the park and of her new friend who likes to play hide and seek when she's not sniffing in the loo. When finally she finds... Sweetheart? She finds nothing new to talk about. She goes back to her drawings. That'll change as soon as her stomach settles, of course, the calm before the storm. Because, behave as she is right now, I can feel the curiosity just radiating off her. There's a restlessness buzzing under her skin, and a question on the tip of her tongue, as often they are with children her age. But for now, I can take this piece with no complaint, for however long it stays. I have fun with the crayons as well, as the child's insistence, even if I can't really draw. With Kylie using the black crayon, that leaves me with the blue one. I absent-mindedly start to draw a puppy to the best of my abilities. Sweetheart? Where are you, baby? Are you in here?
Tia? Where did Tia go? I saw them leave when I got here.
It's as I attempt to give the doodle dogs, another eye that Kylie breaks her silence.
Tia didn't look so good.
I've been expecting a lot of different questions. The kid always had a whole bunch of them ready for me, but I can only sigh when she posed this particular one.
She's just going to the doctor's for a checkup.
And as kids go, there are no follow-up questions.
And you didn't go with her?
Well, you were going to be here, sweetie, so I had to stay behind.
So she's all alone? At the hospital?
Oh, no, of course not. Tia has Johannes and her maid and a guard. She's got plenty of company.
Yeah, but you're not with her.
If I didn't know better, I'd say the kid is trying to make me feel guilty. I want to say that the little tyke is evil for making me feel so.
But I understand. When I get sick, Papa and Mama have to leave me with their maids, too.
Well, they don't take care of you.
That doesn't sound right. Even my mom took care of me when I was sick as a child.
Well, they're always busy with work.
Oh, I see. I guess that's no good.
I know she doesn't mean to accuse me of anything, but as a father's boss, maybe I do overwork Suarez a bit. There's a lot of responsibilities that only he is capable of carrying out. Delegation is a thing, sure, but when said responsibility is legally questionable at best, putting others to the task isn't always an option.
Maybe
But
Papa is in need of some vacation time. He deserves it, doesn't he? He's a hard worker.
Unpaid, though.
Something for the holidays.
I could cut him some slack. Some of his assignments can wait. I can't do much for her mom. She isn't one of my employees, but this would have to suffice. It will be worth it if it makes the little girl happy. Besides, because, just like that, the somber look on her face turns into a one of pure joy. It's like looking at a little sun, warm and bright. It's nice to do something kind every now and then.
Would you really, Teal?
Would you like that?
I'd like that very much, yeah. We can go to this museum. There's one with lots of cool trains and planes. I like trains. And there's the local Manor theme park and a monkey forest. There's a kid adventure farm too, the wacky warehouse, and a play barn as well. And
Whoa, slow down there, Munchkin. I know you're excited, but I think you should let me schedule your dad's day off before you plan a whole year's worth of stuff.
There's an embarrassed giggle, but she does reel herself in, enough to calm down, which is a feat in and of itself. It's obvious how giddy she is. And if she wasn't looking forward to the holidays before, like a child should, she does now.
I think Tia would be really happy if we were with her. You could have told me you needed to go to the hospital with her, Teal. I won't be angry.
I'd love to be with her, but I wanted to spend time with you, Munchkin. And she told me to stay. Besides, I don't like hospitals. They always smell like alcohol. Not the good kind either.
I don't think anybody likes hospitals. They're scary. But you said Tia is brave and strong.
That she is.
A content silence comes over us as we go back to scribbling. Though I stop when I'm done with my blue dog, cringing at how awful it looks. Kylie reprimands me for that because I should be like her. The little tyke goes through several sheets of paper, one drawing after another. Practicing, she says, because practice makes perfect. Not to mention there's a drawing contest coming up in class and she just has to beat Tim from class D who says girls can't be superheroes. The clay gets a turn too, where we start sculpting food and pretending we're Michelin chefs. When we're too tired from tossing pizza and making cakes, there's no doubt in finding another activity more relaxing for the both of us. I find myself invested in reading The Picture of Dorian Gray once more. Often, I lose myself in the pages of the book. However, it is rather difficult to do so when I'm also trying to keep an eye and ear out for Kylie. I've been reading the same paragraph over and over again. Even. Inexplicably, I can feel my skin crawl when the girl sits with Narcissa by the parlor's fireplace, humming, singing. Oh no, not London Bridge. Though I ignore it long enough to hear only the tail end of the song.
Everything is up in flames, up in flames, up in flames. Everything is up in flames, my fair lady.
I don't think I can spend any more time with Kylie considering how high-strung I feel. Okay, well that's gonna be the end of my stream. Looks like we're pretty close. We're pretty damn close, but I only allot about 2 hours of these Gothtober streams. And this is the final Gothtober stream, so we couldn't finish this game. But that was because I missed a couple of days. I think we would have been able to, because I think it just needed like 1 or 2 more streams of this game, I think, to finish it. But I will still complete the game. I will still name it Gothtober, but without the Gothtober look. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, this game is just really long. I enjoy it though; it's pretty spooky, and there's some scary moments. But yeah, and doing Gothtober has been fun, you know. Despite you know, every now and then we get an audience, but for the most part it's just been me here. But it's been fun, you know. I really enjoy reading. That's the one thing that I used to enjoy a lot growing up. I used to read a lot of novels. a lot of books. Not lately, so that's why I really enjoy reading when I play video games, especially like long, detailed conversations and RPGs. It's just recently I started playing visual novels, so, and this one was definitely fun to read, and I look forward to finishing the game. I think what I'm going to do is I'm gonna try and not, because it seems like if you're just nice to Hana as Luke, you might be able to save her from whatever, from doom, from being pushed down the stairs. I take it, I assume, because she was at the top of the stairs during the last sequence of Ashton's story. And I think if you get close to her during Luke's part, maybe she's saved, and if you're not, maybe she's gonna die. So I'm just gonna go with the more tragic story. I mean, I don't even know if that would happen. So, but that's my plan with Luke, because it seems like his relationship with Hana right now is strained. So, all right, let's see here. Go back to that timeline. With Hana away for a checkup, Luke was left alone to watch his godchild, Kylie Suarez. However, what was supposed to be a simple babysitting turned awkward when the precocious child began spouting bizarre things. So yeah, during the next session, I guess we'll get to see those bizarre things mentioned here. So I guess things are starting to get creepy with him and Kylie. There was a commotion outside. Apparently there are a bunch of trick-or-treaters out there. Which is a little surprising, because I was looking out the window earlier and this whole neighborhood is really dark. So, well, there are some people who decorated, I guess, on I've seen some decorated houses, but not a lot of them. Like there would be like decorated houses like every other street. Maybe there's one here and there, but for the most part, all of the houses around this neighborhood are pretty dark. So I'm kind of surprised that I see a bunch of trick-or-treaters out there on this street. But anyway, happy Halloween. Thanks for tuning in to Gothtober. If you just happen to watch this live or on demand later on, don't worry, I'm not quitting on this game. I will attempt to finish it even past October, past the Gothtober event. But that's it for Gothtober. Bye.